What's up, guys? Welcome to my channel. I want you to take a look at today. This video will be a good help to you guys, and it will answer a lot of people's questions. Okay, I made a video on lubricating the slider pins, and a lot of people had things to say, oh, it's not true. It is true. Take a look at this. This customer complains of brake pulsation. I'm not telling you have bad rotors. He said, no, I just did them. They look shiny, nice and shiny and good. They're not even that much of a rust on these, and they are bad. And this thing right here is too much binding up on the brake pads and the caliper and the rotor, creating too much heat, causes brake rotors to warp. Take a look at the both sides. So these rotors are shot. Anyways, we're gonna do a few things I'm gonna show you guys to look into avoid this. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna get some tools. We're gonna remove the caliper, put it up here. We're gonna check the slider pins, and we're gonna lubricate everything. You should follow along if you're doing your brakes and do it the right way and avoid this kind of issue from coming in and happening. So let me get some tools. First, let's try to turn this. Hopefully the keys and the steering and it doesn't lock on us. There you go. We're gonna take off this 14 here. And once you loosen that up, this baby should come out. Every car is different, so make sure you do your vehicle properly. But process overall, and to look at things, well, look at the greasing. Look how old that greasing looks. This is probably jammed up, bind it up. Okay, this lubrication is no good. Brake pads, hardly moving, no lubrication. And there you go. That's that. And look at this. This looks crazy, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna use our socket here just to bang this out. So the key here is, if you wanted, this stuff is no good. This thing is they probably put pads on and never replaced the hardware, because the hardware looks older than freaking brakes itself. And this thing matters because it builds up and there's corrosion underneath. So all this matters. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my impact. We're gonna work on this bracket here a lot, okay? So that is one of the keys to look out for. So let me come and take this off. There you go. That's one. There's one more in the back. And the bracket should be loose, just sitting there. So look at the corrosion in here. Okay, we're gonna get a file today. I'm gonna file this baby. I'm gonna put this here. Let's look at the rotor. If they put any lubrication in the back of it, looks like they kind of put lubrication back there. But look at the rotor condition from the rear end, same thing. Both rotors are overheated. So either somebody's driving with the brakes on with 2 feet, or it's just stuff is jammed up. So let's get wire brush. I'm gonna clean up a lot and do a lot here. So this looks pretty clean right here. So make sure you file this guy really well. File or wire brush. If it's really corroded, you gotta get your power tools out. Okay, that doesn't look so bad. So I am gonna. Okay, so I had somebody come in, but that's all right. Now the camera goes up. So a few things I want to do here is I want to clean up the slider pin as well. I want to go around this little boot right here, because once we compress that, you don't want none of that dust going in. I mean, it's not going to go inside the caliper, but it will create some kind of friction there. So that's that. What we're going to do next is we're going to back up a bit. So I'm going to be just showing you this because I am holding the camera here. So right here, very critical, get your file, okay? Get your buffer, whatever you want to do. Make sure this is nice and clean right in here. And the edges, the corners, I mean, it could look kind of rusted, but as long as none of this, there's no buildup there, okay? So we're gonna go same thing here. Bada bing, bada boom. Remember, I didn't even use a lot of tools. 14 and a 17mm file and a wire brush. So that looks pretty good. So I need my cleaner now. So here's my cleaner. So what I like to do is I like to spray this hub. Clean this guy right here. Same thing here. Same thing here. Okay, so remember, I haven't touched the other slider pin that I took off, the one from the bottom. Okay, So I'm gonna show you that one also. So if it looks, this doesn't look so bad inside here. So if it looks like this is dry, you want to lubricate clean in here also. Okay, take a screwdriver, tap it in there, put WD-40, clean it, rinse it out. That's something that you could do there. I will do it anyway. But we gotta go get some lubrication here. So we got two kinds of lubrication here. Silicone grease, I love to use this on the slider pins. I'm gonna put that away. And this grease right here, that's for the brake pads and hardware. Anyways, what I want to do is I want to use a very thin layer of the silicone grease. I've been using this like right here, so it works really well here as well. Not a lot, just a tiny amount, and then we can put the rotor on. And also, I'm gonna give this silicone grease to just come to one side because it's just like, we're gonna put a little bit here. But right now, one more thing, you want to take a little bit of that dark colored grease I showed you. You just want to put it around on this boot. It protects it, lubricates it a bit, and we're gonna compress this in. So this thing should go in nice and easy. You see I'm not using pad because if you're using a C-clamp, use a pad right in between. So I like to just push this. I'm barely using any force. You shouldn't have to use any force on this caliper. If you're using force, that means your caliper is no good. Sometimes you've got your line binded over here. That will cause restriction for the flow. So this thing should go in very easy. You should be able to do this very simple and easy. So now it's time for me to clean the rotor. I'm going to clean the rotor. Make sure you clean your rotor even though you don't see it. Make sure you clean it, and we're going to put that on. So what we got here is a new rotor, and there you go. That goes on. Now it's time for the hardware. First the bracket. So you want to take that little dark colored grease. You want to put tiny amount, okay, not too much, because once that the clip and retainer go on, they're gonna squeeze the gas, the seal out, this grease out like it's a sandwich. So we're gonna come over to this side a little bit, and we're gonna put on this bracket. So very simple and easy. This guy goes on. The two 17mm bolts right from the back end, and you're gonna lock them up. And if you're using the impact, use the impact. If you're torquing, you're torquing. My video here is simply about doing the job with the greasing here. That's one, and that's two. Okay, next up, we're gonna get the brake pad and the hardware. We're gonna put those babies on and lubricate some more. So we got our hardware here. So I do have a video on how to put the hardware on, and you should be doing. Sometimes I do judge the hardware depending on the age of the vehicle, depending on how bad the hardware looks, or the new one how good it looks. So it all depends on that as well. But try to change your hardware. Okay, if it doesn't come with your brake pads, try to look for another set of brake pad that comes with it, because sometimes it won't come with it. So you do need to pay attention to the inside of this hardware so it doesn't touch the rotor and scrape against the rotor. So if you do this, it should not touch. And tap, 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 tap. It should go in good. And there you go. That looks good. That looks good. Push the center in. And if you hold the rotor center, it shouldn't be scraping. Okay, that's done. Now we need to get the brake pads. So now that we got the brake pads on, it is very critical to put some greasing on the tips of these brake pads, okay, because you don't want them to be dry. Or you could lubricate here, it's all up to you, but I like to lubricate in here. And you make sure your brake pads go in nice and smooth. You should not have to force the brake pad. You see how they went in with one finger, and you should not have to force them in. Same thing in the back. You should not have to force the brake pads in. If you got to force them in, you got to file them a bit. So I'm going to move on a little bit. Give me a moment. I'm going to go get some greasing for this right here, which is sitting there. I got to check the bottom. Okay, so my greasing moves. So we're going to put a little bit of silicone grease on this, just a tiny bit amount. And you don't have to go crazy. I'm going to do the same thing with the second slider pin. So here's my second slider pin here. And I'm gonna clean this guy up. Suppose I have a little rubber boot, so I did order some new pins for him. But meanwhile, it's supposed to have a rubber boot here. And meanwhile, we got to finish out this job. And what we're going to do is we're going to put tiny make grease on this. Remember not to put no greasing on the tip. That was my key there. Because even though this has notches, it still matters. You don't want the rear end to be packed. So our slider pins should just freely move like that in and out. And everything is pretty much done here. I like to take a little bit more greasing, put it on the edge of this brake pad, a little bit on the back edge of the brake pad. And then make sure your line is not twisted and curled. Make sure it's nice and smooth. This goes on and your caliper goes on. Okay, so this is job well done here. So all I saw was either his brake pads was just old and they did a brake pad slap in between because I saw fresh grease everywhere, or it binded it up, or somebody's driving with 2 feet. But anyways, thank you for watching my video, guys. Lubrication is a very critical part of this braking system. Thank you for watching my video. Don't forget to give a thumbs up, share, and like. See you guys on the next video. Bye bye. And double check all your brake bolts and everything.